Okay, let's start with question number 17. Solve. Now, this is the most simple linear equation, but still, I want to take you back to the basics. So let's look question 17. Where will I find these equations in the textbook? It's chapter 4. If you look there, it will be on page 124. And I think this one already starts more difficult. Look at question 11. So it's just taking all the like terms, and it's almost like that question starts there. 4x equals 32. So to make it 1x, I divide 4, and I get that answer. Okay, so I think with that, you're going to be fine. So let's just go back to the question paper. It's the next page. So let's just go. So very, very simple one. Very nice. So you can rewrite it over. I just like to rewrite usually. Divide 10, and the value of x is, if you press it, 0.8, so they will take 0.8 correct, or they will even take 8 over 10 correct, or 4 over 5. Any one of that will be correct. Easy. Then if you go to question number 18, it's also a very expression. That was an equation because there's an equal sign. This is an expression. So it's just basically multiplying the bracket out. But again, if I just going to take you to the textbook, where you're going to find, and in the textbook you're going to see it's a bit more challenging because that's more grade 8 level. But if you say multiplication of polynomials, and that will be on page 91 in the grade 10-11 mathematics textbook, y equals mx plus c. Now if you look at this, just look at a. Now it's actually more difficult if there's a negative. Then I multiply with the term, the first term, and I get negative 2x. And I multiply with that term, and I get negative 6x3y. And then it's unlike terms, and I just leave it like that. Okay, so that's far more difficult, but it's always good to practice difficult or more difficult. And then when you come to one like this, it's so nice and easy. Okay. So the most important thing is that you know you must multiply. So this is going to be 12a minus 30. And remember, there's no a. This is unlike terms. Please don't make it one term. It's 12. It's two terms the answer. That is the answer. And you must have both terms correct to get that 1 mark. Okay. Now the same with this one. This is also a very basic simplifying of just adding your like terms. If you want to find a few examples in the textbook there, you can again go to, I'll tell you the page. And there it will be on page 90. There, 90. And it's still algebraic expressions, chapter 3. And this is basically, can you remember how I highlight all my like terms? So that one is on its own. Then this 2 with the x square, we just focus on the alphabet letter, but that little, the base and the exponent must be exactly the same. So that 2 we can simplify. That 2 we can simplify. And then this 2 we can simplify. But the answer is having 1, 2, 3, 4 terms. Okay, so you can look a few there. Let's go back to the question. As I said, it was really, I think, a grade 8 type of level. But that is really to help you and just to get a few extra marks. Okay. So this is like. And remember what I always do. I grab the sign in front. So please don't make mistakes. So 4f plus 8f. Okay, it's like apples. So this is going to be 12f. And then negative 2, press on your calculator if you struggle with negative numbers. So negative 2, negative 7, that's negative 9g. Okay, so grab that side. So it's 12f minus 9g. And in this case, they would have looked if you have positive 12, negative 9g, 2 marks. Okay. Now this is a bit more, logarithms is a bit more new, and it's the reverse of indices. So it's a bit more challenging, but let me take that example. Is not so difficult, luckily. So let's just go to this. We will find, this is in chapter 5, indices, logarithm, sequences. And the example I want to take you is to example 27. Just going to make it again smaller. Okay. It's there. And that's where we're going to expand. So it's actually just basically we are just testing the rules. Okay, so it's the quotient, the product, and product rule that we're going to choose, and the power. Okay, so let's just start. There's the quotient, the product, and then it's just there's the power law. So I'll show you all the laws. So let's start. Don't do too many things in one step. Just do one at a time. So the first thing, I'm using this, and that's the power law. So it's on top and I jump it in front. Just do that. Now, because that 2 counts for whole, I put that bigger brackets. And I hope if I'm doing it now, no, it seems to me it keeps on. I have to keep it a bit smaller. Okay. So then it's just this brackets, which I'm showing you there. Now, remember, if it's divide, I write 2 log words with a negative. So the 2, and that's the quotient law. So again, not too many things in one step. And then I can break this multiply up into the product law by putting addition. And remember, with multiply, there's 1 log word. With divide, there's 1 log the word. But with addition and subtraction, it becomes everyone, it's separate log. Okay, word. And then I just multiply, 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 and that will be separate. It's actually just a way to see if you know the rules and if you can apply the rules. It's almost like we test the rules in expressions so that we can use it when we solve equations. Okay, that is, and can I just repeat that page? If I didn't say, it's page 200, and it's in chapter 5 that you will find that. Okay, so we go back, and as I said, it was not a difficult one. It was a very fair one. Okay, so again, be careful. Be very, very careful in the sense that this 3, it's making a total sum. If there was a bracket, you could have jumped in front, but there's not a bracket. That means that 3 is only for that term. Okay, so I can start by again, I'm going to first use that rule, the product. So I'm going to say, okay, I just want to go for blue. Okay, I'm going to say log 2 plus log, with the plus and minus, I write every term its own log word, that word. Okay, x3. And now I can do that by saying log 2 plus 3 log x. Okay, and that is the answer. So again, you will get a mark. I think as soon as you apply that rule, the product, and then the power. Okay, and then that will be the 2 marks. So your final answer will be log 2 plus 3 log x. Okay, and now I'm at inequalities. Do you see? Let's see, where do we find this in the textbook? We go and we look at 21. We found it here. Let me show you. Okay. Okay, so in the textbook, on page 161, you will see solving linear inequalities. And that is chapter 4, linear inequalities in one unknown. Okay, so let's start. Now, the one I want you to focus on is number B. Okay, so let's just focus on number B. It works exactly like an equation, a linear equations. The only time is that we change around the sign as soon as we divide by a negative number. So basically, if you look at this one, we are just going to, you see it was -1. So as soon as we divide by a negative, that sign changed from a bigger to a smaller. And that's the only difference. Okay, so let's go back to the question. Let's just go back to the question. And let's look at it. Okay, there. So if I'm going to do this one, I'm just going to say, okay, I'm just going to treat it like an equation, a linear equation. I'm going to take all the like terms to one side. And this one to the other side. I don't change anything because not with addition and subtraction. Then I get 4p and I get 12. Now, as soon, actually, I shouldn't write this because as soon I'm going to know divide by -4. So I must already swap the sign from a bigger to a smaller. So I get P is smaller and equal to -3. And I'm just going to write it in there. I'm going to say P is smaller and equal to -3. They will give you a mark for coming to that, bringing the correct terms over, and then for the final answer. Let's start with question number 22. The first 4 terms of a sequence are. Find the nth term of the sequence. So this is the first term, this is the second term, this is the third term, this is the fourth term. Now don't forget, if it's an AP, then the second, the one in front minus the one at the back will be equal to another front minus a back. Okay, then it's an AP. If it's in GP, then the one in front divide the one in back is equal to the one front divide back. Okay, so let's start and test. Is this an AP? So let's start by saying T2 minus T1. So if I'm going to, there's T2, so it's 5. Please remember to put your bracket. And that's 5 plus 3, which is 8. Then T3 minus T2. And that is going to be 13 minus 5, and that's going to be 8. Oh, excellent. So therefore, it's an AP. And just that value I'm getting every time, that is the value of D. So D is equal to 8. Okay. Now, don't forget your first term will be A. Now, can I just take you again to the textbook? I'm taking you to the textbook, question 22. And it's actually just to see that formula. So I'm just going to make it a bit bigger. And that's page 212. And the formula which I want you to see, is this formula. So can I just show you? This is the formula. So it's A plus, I like to put the D in front because it's easier to work with the brackets then, N minus 1. Okay, so I say again, there's not a lot of formulas to learn in ordinary. So please make for yourself a formula sheet, memorize that formulas. As soon as you go to AS level, the formulas become a lot and then they give you a formula sheet. But I also always say you learn a lot of things in history, geography, a lot of subjects. But as soon as it comes to learning something in maths, then you're a little bit lazy. So please don't be lazy. Learn the formulas. Okay, so let's just go back and let's just try do that one. Okay, let's move a bit down. And because if you know the formula now, then it's very easy. That's Tn A plus D bracket N minus 1. That's for the Tn, for the nth term. So I told you A is -3. What is D? That's 8. I don't have N. And I want, it's almost like an algebraic expression. So it's -3 plus 8n minus 8. Now, just take note, that is like terms. So Tn is going to be 8n minus 11. Okay, and as easy as that. And can I say, I think if you were just putting it in there, if they see that you, even if you didn't simplify, you would have get that mark and then for your final. Okay, and let's just start the next question. Oh, this is a nice question. Functions, chapter 6. Okay, again, so it's 3 different ones. That is very simple. That's the inverse and that's compound. So every time I'm taking you to another page in the textbook. So let's start with the first one, 23. I take you first to that very simple page. Okay. Functions, chapter 6. The page is 226. Okay. Can I just clean this a little bit? I had to redo this video, so that's why it's already marked. Okay. Technology, always drop you. Okay. So let's start. I'm just going to focus on B. Okay. So because it's a negative. So basically it's just substitution. So I will just go to B, I write it down, and every time when I see x, I will just substitute -2, and I will just simplify, and I will get 3. And that's exactly, so page 226, that's the first one. As I said, the easiest one. So we go back, and we go back. Okay, and we're going to start there. And then remember, now it's G. So I go to G. Please don't go to F. The name is G. Go to G. So G, okay, I can first write down the formula. And now I'm saying in the place of X, you substitute -3. And that is going to give you 9. And then G minus 3 equals 9. If you just write 9, you will also be correct. Okay, that I said is inverse. So let me take you again to the textbook, the inverse. 23b, let's see what page I highlight for you here. So 23b, I'm taking you to example 5. Here's the inverse. It's still chapter 6 and it's on page 229. And I showed you very nice and clearly. I explained to you there. So what do? I just take the formula. I'm going to find the inverse. So as soon as you see that -1x, it's inverse. Now, step 1. First, replace the fx with y. Okay, there I did that. Then, replace every x with a y and replace every y with an x. So where you see y, you make it x. And where you see x, you make it y. Easy as that. And then make y the subject of the formula. We did subject of the formula in chapter 4. So leave, because it's positive, I let the 7 jump over, -7. I divide, and then I can just swap the two sides. And then don't forget to end with f minus 1x. And that, okay, it's not difficult, page 229. Make sure you can do that. Okay, so let's just go to the question paper again. And then I'm just going to start here, and I'm just going to move it a bit down so that I see just the equations. So go to F. Now not to G, to F. So start by saying fx equals 3. I prefer to write it down. Okay, I prefer to do that. Then make a y in the place of that. Then when you see a y, you make it a x, and where you see x, you make it a y. It's due to the graphs where the x value becomes the y value because it's a reflection in the line y equals x. Okay, but it's also explained in the textbook. So now I must make y the subject, but because it's negative, I jump it over. I don't like negative. I like positive. I like positive people also. Okay, so 3 minus x. I jump the x over. I divide 3. I divide 3. And I have y equals 3 minus x over 3. And that is my inverse function. Okay. Now, can I just show you here? If somebody was leaving it on that side, it would have been all right, because then you would have get an answer. And I just want to write, then you would have get an answer of f minus 1x equals x minus 3 over -3, which they will also mark correct. Okay, so my answer now was f minus 1x equals 3 minus x, so this is swap. So they would also mark this correct. Okay, they would have gave you, if you came to this point, okay, so at least if you come to that point, they would have gave you. Or if somebody go further, it's not necessary. And he said 3 divided 3, take this denominator, and he take this, and then it's 1 minus x over 3. So if somebody also wrote 1 minus x over 3, he would have also be correct. Okay, just take note of that, but just 2, not 4 marks. Okay. And then the last one, this is compound functions, and I'm again going to take you to the textbook. So let's just go to the textbook and we are going to look at question 23C. Okay, and again, as I said, I already did this video. It's for me very bad if I have to do videos over and the technology drops me, but it's like giving the same class to grade A, B, C, D. Okay, it's fine. Okay, so let's just look at this question. This question is on page 233. It is still in chapter 6, and I'm going to show you questions. Just question 9a. It's going to be all right. Just take note. They are saying you start with the back. It's like you're going to take F and you're going to throw it in G. Okay, and that's what I did. I took F, I make a circle around F, and I throw it in G in the place of X. And that, do you see there? And I throw it in X. There is G. And then I just write it down. And then please don't forget that it must be multiplied. So I prefer then rather that if you struggle still with that short method, just go and do it on the side like this. And then multiply, plot so that you get. So it's just simplifying, and at the end it's giving you an algebraic expression on the side. Okay, so it's not. So just start with the back. Whereby, can I just show you this one? If you did the other way, number B, okay, you could have said, because now it's G, so you will take G and you will throw it in F. So then you will take this one and you will throw it in there. Do you see? That you would have done then. And that's what I did there. Okay. But you can check, and that was, as I said, on page 233. Let's go back to the question paper and do that one. Okay. So if I do this one, I can just make it a bit smaller, a bit big. Okay. And still smaller, that I can see the equations. Otherwise, okay, there I have it. So again, look what I show you. It's F and it must be thrown into G. Okay, so I think it's the best if we rewrite it over. So write Fx. Just make sure you copy correctly. Write Gx. Okay, and you can make it for yourself. It's not going to penalize you. Leave it or do it in pencil if you. So it's going to be Gfx, and I focus here to the one I'm going. So it's going to be 3 minus 3x, and it's square. Okay, so if I'm going to do that, let's just move it up a little bit. And as I said, rather just take your pencil. Just don't make that mistake. Say, and I'd rather take a color, that's better. So 3 minus 3x, 3 minus 3, and you don't have to rub, you can just leave it. So 3 times 3 is 9. This is negative 9x. This times this, okay, I was doing this times this is also negative 9x. This times this is positive 9x squared. So there is the like terms, negative 18x plus 9x squared. So let me just write it down. So this is 9 minus 18x plus 9x squared. You can leave it like that, or doesn't matter. They're not going to worry about the order. It's just that sometimes we like to write the x squared first. Oh, your sign, negative 18x plus 9. But they're going to focus if you have a positive 9x squared and negative 18x and a positive 9, doesn't matter in what order. So 1 for if you come to that step and 1 for your final answer.